Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our Intro to Powerbase webinar. This is Anna McNaught.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar Hernandez.
And we're both with Houston in Action. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you understanding of the data system that we are utilizing for our census work, and also to provide you some context of how you will be able to utilize that data. Before we get started, I'd like to provide you some information regarding the Powerbase system. Powerbase is a customer relationship management, which basically means that it's an approach on how Houston in Action is interacting with you all to support the gathering of information of the work that you are doing. So Powerbase is the program that we decided to use to enable the capacity for organizations to be able to input and show the impact of the work that they're doing in the community.
Yeah, so this CRM was chosen through a lot of back and forth to figure out what is the best tool that we could use to inform the community. And the reason we ended up with this tool is because we felt that it was the tool that we can both not only store information, but make sure that it's private and that other organizations who are going to be sharing this information won't have access to it. So this way, any information that you input to the system, only you will be able to see it, and it will be in a place that it's safe and accessible. As we get started, one of the first things we want to talk about is our working principles when it comes to data. So the principles that we have here is to make sure that the data that we have, it's an independent based building activities. So what we mean by that is that for many organizations who do not have a data system, this is an opportunity to understand and use a new data system that can support you. For organizations that may have existing data systems, this is another way to incorporate a new leadership with your volunteer members or the base so they can learn how to use the different CRMs. None of the data that we will be storing in here will be shared across other organizations unless there is a written MOU or an understanding that this will happen. For us, the key purpose of this is, like we mentioned, is privacy. So unless y'all decide to share information with other people, we will not be sharing that. And we also will not be sharing individuals' information that you collect outside of the space. The intention for y'all to collect people's information is for two things: to be able to have a place to store the information from folks and to give you an opportunity to respond to people and to follow up. So the better and cleaner your data is, the better and the more accurate you will be able to do follow-ups to recruit people to come to your events or to support you in whatever your organization is doing moving forward. So key things to remember about our data and how we want to prepare for it. Before we jump into the system, we want to think about ways that we can ensure that what we're doing remains safe. So a key do is to remember that we have, it was 1 second, remember that we have to building a strong password. And by building a strong password, you will be able to ensure that folks outside of your space will not log in to your system, that you train volunteers, and that these volunteers get trained not only on how to use the data system, but the importance of data overall. Yes, data is important to meet certain proposals, but more than meeting those proposals, data is crucially important for how you interact with the community. That's why we encourage people to enter all data digitally, because often enough, folks might enter data through paper form, which makes it a little harder to reach out to people, but also very unsafe. In many cases, if you do prefer to collect data through paper, just remember to be able to transfer that data from paper into the digital, which will be in the system, or and then dispose of the paper so you don't have people's data just lying around. We want to make sure that people charge their laptops, but most importantly, if you do have any questions, make sure to reach out to us. So as part of the don'ts is making sure that that part of your strong password is not something as simple as just my name 1321. but to think of a password that is creative, that makes sense, and that cannot be easily guessed. Do not share your login with other people. This way we can track who is logging into the system and that your data is safe. We want to avoid carrying data on paper and even on Excel sheets because sometimes putting things in Excel or on a Google Sheet might actually leave it open for other people to review your data. So the safer the data is, the better you might feel about how you're working with the community, and the easier the accessibility to follow up with folks. So this is our data system. As we talked about earlier about our CRM, we went with Powerbase, and Powerbase has been a amazing tool that, to be honest, like most data systems, can get a little complicated. But the more people use this tool, the better and easier we'll be able to, the more people use this tool and the more we catch glitches or problems, the easier and faster we would be able to fix these glitches to make sure that it's the most user-friendly tool we have. So first, we want to start by logging in. Everyone here should have gotten a login from Andy to be able to go into the system. Our address for our Powerbase is houstoninaction.ourpowerbase.net. We know that that is very long, but we also recommend people to bookmark it so it goes under, so it stays underneath your address bar. Now, once you click on and it's saved and it's under your address bar, you just click on the logo and you'll be able to jump right into the login. So as you go through the process, log in and enter your password right now so you can jump in alongside us. And if you do not have a login, just make sure to follow this video or rewind as you need to in order to get answers to the questions you may have. So the next step is, once we're logged in, a window like this will show up. Now we notice that at the top, there's two different search bars. It gives you two different avenues to search for data in the system. We're not going to be reviewing that in detail today, but just know that there is multiple ways that you can search for the data, whether it be through events, through a person, through phone number, email. There's a contacts tab. That is clearly to get a list of the contacts that you have in the system. If this is the first time you're logging in, you will not have any contacts in the systems other than possibly yourself and another staff member who has granted a login process. Then what we're going to focus on is on the events. After events is campaign, which we're not going to be using today. And for some groups, we'll not be using at all, but when we do open that portion, we will let you know. Reports is something that we're going to cover, and the administrative and support, we would prefer that any questions you have through Powerbase to send it directly to Andy at houstoninaction.org, and he'll be able to answer your questions. And if he cannot, then he will reach out to our Powerbase people so they can follow through with us. But the first thing that we want to do is, as you think about all the events that are happening, we want to make sure that you review your calendar. And once you review your calendar, this is the first step into inputting data, which is logging in your events. So please click on events. And once you do that, a dropout bar will appear. Now this dropout bar, as you follow it through, you want to click on new events, specifically if this is for an event that you're about to input into the system. If this is an event that you already have, you would click on manage events. But because we're making a new event, we're going to click on new events, followed by inputting the data for the system. So write in the type of event that you have on top where it says event type, whether it be a tabling, an info session, etc. You can actually add different titles in there, but we have a list of them that range from canvassing to one-on-ones to different kind of outreach that y'all will be having. After that, there's a campaign ones that we're really going to ignore and move to the next one, which is the default role. Default role can either be participant or attendee. This default role is mainly to track like who is there when you're registering them, so you don't have to give everyone a role as they are signed in. So this way, once you put in the default role, if it's at attendance or participant, as you log in, register other people, this is what will pop up. But if you have a leader or a volunteer or someone who's presenting, through the other registration, we'll talk about how you can make sure to track that. Now, underneath that is participation listing, which again we can skip, but we want to look at event title. You input the event title, so this way you know the type of event and what's the event title. For example, if you have a food fair at a community center, you can title it food fair at the community center, but the event type might be a tabling or an information session. But if you want to get more details to make sure that you don't lose track, you can write in the event summary and even a complete description. The difference between event summary and complete description is that the event summary is a brief idea of what's happening, and a description is where you can write in everything that will happen through the event. Now, when you write out all this information, you have an opportunity to write in the start date and when it ends. You don't have to necessarily focus on the timing unless you want to keep specific details of when it starts and when it ends. But we do want to have a start date so it can track it on the calendar. After you do this, you click continue. And then when you click continue, it's going to ask you for location information. So write in the event address and definitely write in the county. You want to make sure that the county is inputted in the system, just so it can make it a complete profile for the address. After you do that, then it's as simple as clicking save and done, and your event will be created. Now, once your event has been created, the next thing you want to do is register people to this event. We recommend people to create events as soon as you can. So if you have an event that's happening in a week or two, create it today. So that way, by the time the event comes, you're not rushing into trying to put all this data of the event information on the day of, because that could get in the way of you registering new people. Now, after the event's created, we're going to go into registering people. So once again, you click on events, and then when that drop down comes up, you'll click on register event participant. And a window like this should pop up. So it says new event registration. Through this, there's a contact event. There's a contact bar and an event bar. The contact is where you'll be registering new people, but the event bar is where you will be writing in the event that you previously registered. So if you click on the event, you will notice the event that you previously made, and you'll be able to click on that. But first, we're going to click on the contact bar. After you click on the contact, a search window is going to pop up. If you already have this person's information or they've been registered before, you might be able to find them as simply as writing down their name or their email. However, for new people, we have to click on the new individual. After you click new individual, and this is very important, definitely, I think most of the information here is pretty self-explanatory. First name, last name, email, phone number, address, and zip code. However, what we want to focus on for this is the tag. So always start with your tag. What we mean by tag is that this is the way we track which organization is registering which individual. So if you have an event of 50 people, each of those 50 people needs to be tagged for that event. If you do not tag people, then that data ends up in our system without a tag, and it will not be tracked to your organization. So what this would look like is that if for the test, we will be using project demo, and the tag looks something like this. Now, if you go through the list of what these tags look like, these are highlighted through the different organizations that are currently working with us through our 13 organizers. So you're going to see different tags from other organizations like Project Avenue, Project Baker Ripley, Project BPSOS, and so on. But Project Demo List is what we're going to be using to tag the people for this event. So as the tags drop down, you click on your tab, and that will look like PROJ and then your organizational name. Once that's clicked, the person's information is in the system. Then again, you will click save. After you, so now you have the contact and the event. It also tells you the date that the person is being registered. That way, you know that if you made the event 2 weeks prior, this tracks the day that the person show up to the time. And if you had to backtrack to see new data that you had to put in there because you had to do it on paper form, because you're using a Google Sheet or whatever reason, then this is where you'll be able to go back and it'll track when that data was inputted. So you can have a clear timeline of the people who are supporting you doing the data and when they perform this task. So now that all this is done, you registered your first person to your first event. Congratulations. Now you click save and move on. You could also click save and new, and that will let you register another person into the same event. Now, once we've gone through the process of practicing this, I envision that everyone's going to have a lot of questions about inputting using the system, about ensuring that this data is accurate, that you might get lost for a bit. The video might not have answered all the questions you might have. No worries. Make sure to contact Andy at houstonninaction.org or myself, Oscar at houstonninaction.org, and we will do our best to answer the questions and figure out solutions to the issues you might foresee. But now that you learn how to make an event and register people, the next process is, how do I make a report? So for this, as you want to show the progress of your work, we want to make it as simple as possible so you're able to make a report based on your events and the number of people that show up. Especially for folks who need to figure out the reimbursement process and tracking the process of your work. This is the part that's going to help you and simplify it within the system. So Powerbase will keep track of the number of events as well as the number of people. All this to say, though, is that if we're intending to simplify and improve on this system as we move forward. So once a new process comes up that might be a little simpler, we will be able to teach you that. But in the meantime, if you want to use this process, and if this is what you're comfortable with, then this is the one you can stick with. Essentially, you'll be getting the same data from different ways of getting that data. So the first step to go to file a report is to, again, go to reports. Once the drop-down comes, click on Event Reports. And after you click on Event Reports, a window like this will pop up. Now, I split this window in half just to make sure that it fit our screen so you can see it. But under Event Reports, it's going to have under the first column, attendee list, followed by Event Participant List. Now, there is a couple of other ones underneath that talk about income, and details of income. We're not going to focus on the first one or the last two. Our focus is going to be on the event participant list. But you don't want to click on event participant list. What you want to do is go all the way to the right side of of your window to view results. Click on view results. And when you're done clicking on view results, another window is going to pop up, most likely with a lot of names and information. In this particular person's profile, this person has 117 contacts. So it does tell you the amount of people who showed up. And as you will see, Tomas Aguilar, who at the right, this is the event that they came to during the census work group. Then there's Donna Alexander, they came to the health subcommittee October meeting. And you might be able to see who went there. Sorry, you will be able to see who went to what event, but this hasn't really simplified the process for you. You still have to go through all of those people to be able to make the most accurate report as possible. But the way to streamline it and make it easier for you is the next thing you want to click on is on sorting. After you click on sorting, a couple of things are going to come out, which is if you want to sort them by last name and first name, events, or event type. For the purposes of this report, we want to focus on the event column, and we want to check on the section header on the right side. So when that pops up, click on events. Sorry, do not click on events. Click on the section header portion, and then click refresh results. Once you do this, the results that will show up will be the following. If you notice, it still says records from 1 to 50 of 117. So that means there's 117 records. And in these records, it actually breaks down via events. So if you go to the through the list, it'll tell you what was the name of the event and how many people showed up per event. So at the moment being, you will have to count the number of events you have in your written report, and then oversee and make sure that you're counting the right and accurate number of people you've been engaging so far. So if 3 of these events or happen in 1 month, I would be able to say 3 events, then add 27 plus 9 plus 26, which should give us a total of, let me see, 36 plus 26, 50, 62 people. So that way you can write on in your report 3 events, 62 people. And this is our way to simplify this as best as possible. So you can ensure that, so we can make this easier for you and when you're following these reports, so it doesn't get a lot of logistical work for you to do it. And like I said, moving forward, if we're able to simplify this and make this a process that can make it easier for everybody, we will let you know. But for the time being, focus on looking through your reports in this manner. Now, Powerbase is a tool, like I said, like many others, all these different CRMs and all these different data systems. We understand that for some folks, data might be frustrating. We understand for some folks, it might be a little difficult to understand. And sometimes we just need to go through repetition over and over and over again through practice so we can better improve on it. That is totally fine. Don't get frustrated. Remember, we're here to help. If you have any questions, send an email to data@houstoninaction.org, or once again to Andy@houstoninaction.org, who will be able to answer any questions you may have. At the same time, I do want to acknowledge that no matter what system we use, they all have their complications, but we felt that Powerbase was the safest data system for everybody and met the needs of our collective organizations. So we look forward to working with you and hearing from you and every one of the organizations in the future, so we can not only improve of the work and the support we're doing with our community, but that we have an accessible way to follow up with people, to not just to collect their data, but to able to get them engaged and participate. And the only way to engage the community is to have clear and accessible data, so you're able to follow up with them and they can come to your events as participants, but possibly even as volunteers or even becoming leaders within the space. And you never know, I've always found an odd individual or two who love to do data and who supported us inputting data. And some people really like the process of getting this information, putting into the system. And this is a way for you to show the impact that it's causing within your organization and within the community. So we thank everybody for your time, for this process, for supporting us here. And we look forward to more trainings in the future.
Thank you, Oscar, and thank you everyone for your participation. If you and your organization are engaged in our Complete Count Committee and census outreach efforts and you don't have access to Powerbase, please email us at data@houstoninaction.org and we can support you to get a login. Thank you everyone and have a good day.